What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just trying to keep these kids in order as they are on a everyday rampage.
I bet.
Man.
Where you at now?
I'm in Nevada. I'm in Henderson, Nevada.
All right. How's the you
One
guys
second.
on lockdown there too?
Say that again?
You guys on lockdown over there too?
Oh, yeah. Everyone is.
Crazy.
Hey, Daddy's on the phone. Everybody go upstairs. Daddy's on the phone. Everyone go upstairs. Don't come back down. All right. Interview. I had to lock down the space for a good interview. I just rented out my living room.
All right, sounds good.
Closed off. So what's up, man? What is this interview about? How are we getting down?
Yeah, I don't know, pretty casual from what they've told me. Keep it real casual. They just wanted to have like some kind of fun conversation or whatever. And then they'll I guess they'll chop it up from there and post some fun stuff.
Okay, cool. I'm down. What's up?
Like that. Yeah, hold on. I'll get into that. They sent me a list of questions they kind of want me to go over.
And who is this for? This is for ASU?
Yeah, it's for ASU. Just
Okay.
keep the social media popping, keep people interested and whatnot.
All right, cool.
Let the fans know we still care about them during all this messiness.
Let me get a Sun Devil hat on there.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. Don't come downstairs. This is actually a really good area. So how's the season going for you as far as like just being on campus, not, in the mix of things like those who are in the lineup and those who got their season cut out? How are you feeling about everything?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer for sure. It's real goofy. Some of those seniors, they worked their tails off for so long. It's crazy for to have to end that way. But they gotta make the safe call, try to protect all the athletes and everything, all the spectators. So makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a gnarly way to go out.
Bro, I don't know what I would have did. I don't know if that was my senior year and I hadn't won it yet.
Yeah.
Boy,
It's crazy.
I would have threw up after hearing the news. Man, I don't know how I would have dealt with it. But all right, I'm ready.
Yeah. So what are you doing to keep busy during all this quarantine stuff?
Well, I have a small group of people that I'm still grinding with because our organization has not put aside, the fact that we can fight without crowds and things like that. So sport, I guess my sport considers themselves to still be essential, not only for morality, but I believe sports in general are essential, to just give people that avenue to run away. I think sports are a perfect place to run away to when you get done with all your business and done with all, the stuff that you have to do with your everyday lives. Watching other people compete or competing yourselves is a time that, you really get to just get away from certain things. And so many good athletes run from their actual world and become great at their sport because of the running from, everything else. So for them, most certainly sports is essential. It's an absolute must. So my organization hasn't put a hold on anything, and so we're still staying sharp, but we are keeping it under 10 people.
Yeah.
And we all know our whereabouts. We all know where we all been and going.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on an honor system, but the guys that we train with, coach trains us so hard that we going home, going to sleep, and we're waiting for the next text message to get back together again. So we're keeping the quarantine rules, for the most part, staying home and playing with the kids. But when duty calls, duty calls, and we glove up, we mask up, and we get ready.
Yeah, makes sense. How's the weight doing? Are you able to stay on top of that, or is it you letting it slip a little bit?
Oh, definitely letting it slip. Quarantine weight is no joke. watching all my kids, feeding all these kids. And, I have 3 children. So, I'm not usually as involved with, their day-to-day routine as I am now, with wifey just wanting a mental break,
Yeah, for sure.
This, that, and the third. So, man, the weight has not, because I don't have anything coming up on like, an actual name, a place or anything like that. I can't afford to allow, the slippage to happen a little bit. So, but I am staying in shape. I'm just not keeping the weight down.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel like I've been losing weight during this quarantine. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy not having all the same resources as being at school with all the food and everything.
Well, you're also not working up an appetite.
That's true.
The schooling, all this, the hustle and bustle going back and forth, it makes you work up an appetite. And when you're kind of sitting around, and after you eat past boredom, then you just, your body's just acclimating.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Let me see what else we got. Let me think. Yeah, what's your workout regimen looking like now?
Doing a lot of running because it is the best thing to do as far as staying away from other people and still getting a good workout in. So we're doing a lot of running, and I would say it's called open drills, where one coach makes us stand in the line, and we go in the line and we kind of all do the one thing, and we just get to the back of the line. So there's a lot of that going on just because of, just so many different types of ways that the people out there want you to be safe. So even though we're practicing, even in our practicing, we're implementing the rules that the world wants. So it's just a little bit difficult. And we're in that gray area. I'm sure there are so many people who watched us train today. We were outside in the field today, but there's so many people that watch us train that are like, man, that they're probably definitely going to call the quarantine office, they definitely don't understand. But, my organization can come right back in June or the next, come around and say, hey, you got to fight in 2 weeks, and, you better have been ready kind of thing. It's not like, it's not like they can call me in on, Thursday and say, hey, Chase Bank is open again on Monday and you got to go work the desk. You got to go work the teller. It's not that one of those things. If you're not ready weeks in advance, then, for my craft, you are out on, you're out on the boat without a float. So
you gotta, you gotta stay ready, so you gotta get ready, right?
Yep, that it. And people think that is just a saying until this quarantine hits.
Shoot, yeah.
Until you're just locked in the house all day, every day. Now people, no days off. Well, explain that to me now. All you no days off and get ready, stay ready, guys. Explain your quarantine habits to me now, because I know for a fact there's some days being off.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. I was starting to finally fall in love with the weight room and everything. I never spent much time in there before college, but with Coach Rich, I've been working in there like crazy. I've started to fall in love with it. Now I'm missing it bad.
Oh yeah.
It's hard. I can't run too much right now.
There's that grind, that itch, that once you start to feel, start to see your body change, and you're like, okay, and all right, today's pump day, today's arm day, today, okay, I get it. And I'm only talking from experience because my black ass didn't lift weights. I can tell you that right now. I was a black lead like a mug. I was strong, all can get out, and I ain't weight. If I look at the weight room, man, I'm going up to 74, so I had to stay away from that. My body's genetically sound, baby.
I was lucky. I got by with just have my baby strength up until this year. I started feeling at the there was a challenge tournament.
I shook your hand. There was not a time you had baby strength. I can tell you that right now.
It's crazy.
It might have been young man strength, but it definitely wasn't baby strength.
Just the difference lifted between there was a challenge tournament before Final X last year, and then to the tournament in Texas for senior nationals this last year. It's crazy the difference, just that many months in the weight room.
Yeah, you can feel it. When you can feel it, that's when you start to get all right. There is some rules and there's some realness to this. I'll go with it.
Oh yeah, big time. That's funny. Yeah, it's goofy though. I can't run right now. We've been having snow. It's been snowing every other week pretty much. Right now I'm looking outside. We got a blizzard going on right now.
It's snowing in Arizona.
I'm in Colorado now. I went
Oh,
back
okay.
home.
Okay. I was about to
Yeah.
say, hold on. What?
Shoot, no, we got a blizzard back in Colorado right now. It's
Jesus
crazy.
coming back ASAP. It's snowing in Arizona. We got about a couple of hours to get right before it come on. That's my Lord and Savior. I'm gonna go ahead and say that now. So
Yeah.
if it starts snowing in Arizona, I'll see y'all in the afterlife.
That's the end, huh?
Yes, sir. It's over.
Let's see here. What we got next? All right. So, what was the biggest reason that brought you to ASU when you made the switch?
Was the biggest reason I needed a school to go to. No, the biggest reason that I joined Arizona State was the coaching staff. And even though it's a different coaching staff now, Arizona State as a program does a really good job of hiring the coaches that are specifically there for their type of students, their type of kids. And when Sean Charles was there, and Brian Stith and Ben Askren, Brian Stith was a childhood idol of mine in a sense. We went to the same high school, so to see the success he had at Arizona State after I was leaving the Penn State program, seeing that he was on the coaching staff, seeing that Sean Charles, how he cared for his students and athletes, and I watched him back when he was coach at Missouri. Although not the head coach, I did know of his coaching prowess, and that's one of the reasons. The coaching staff, the atmosphere of the entire athletic program. There are some differences in the wrestling program itself, but when we talk about the athletic program as a whole unit, as a body at Arizona State, it's second to none. We're getting some of the best athletes and some of the best coaches colliding in the same place at the same time, and as we are ASU and as we are, the Sun Devils, we're going to start putting up a bunch of trophies, especially on the wrestling side of things, but also just in all of ASU sports. You can feel this coming on of ASU here in the next couple of years. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely a feeling like, ASU's basketball is doing a little better. Yeah. ASU football's got a little better. The track team's got some people, it's just like little pieces in here, little pieces there. But the athletic program does a great job of bringing some of the best people to one spot.
It was a fun year being a Sun Devil with all the upsets. We were pulling upsets like every sport.
Man, I was there for a couple of them. So yeah, like you said, that's funny. I didn't really know that there was a whole bunch of upsets going on in other sports, but when you start to see that, the wave is coming, baby. The wave is coming.
Yeah, it was that Penn State. That was the atmosphere I've never been in before. That was ridiculous. That had to be the coolest wrestling atmosphere I've ever been a part of.
Get used to it, man. That's what ASU's about to start breeding. And when I was at Penn State, there was one time we were the number one ranked team in the country for about 3 weeks, right? But the first week that we were number one team in the country, we had national duels, and so that was the first weekend. And when we walked in the arena, the way we walked around, the feeling, not that I was ranked number one, or you can have that feeling of that individualism and all that, but when your team is ranked number one in the country, it was like I felt like there was an aura around our entire team. Our entire team. There were guys that were in the room, All-Americans, never touched a mat on a real match, and they felt like they were the best in the world, because they were a part of the number one team in the country. When we walked in the arena, everybody was looking at us. Everybody had it out for us. Everybody wanted a piece of us because we were the number one team in the country. And when we start to gain that pride, obviously we lost it very quickly because we lost 2 matches. We lost to Cornell and Ohio State that weekend. They did, I didn't, but nonetheless, we had a certain feel about us from head to toe, from heavyweight to lightweight, from starter to backup, from freshman to senior. There was like an aura about the program that we had pride since too, and I can only see that same feeling after that match that we were at when they beat Penn State. That feeling of we just beat the number one team in the country, but also, man, that makes us a pretty good team ourselves. You know,
Oh yeah.
it gave them that feeling of like, yo, we're actually legit. You know, let's start training. I mean,
Have a little
training
chip on your shoulder.
Practices after that felt, you know, everyone drilled harder and everyone ran faster. It was like, you know, we're the number one team. We got to drill like this. This is what we're supposed to look like. So that definitely can carry on to everyone. So that atmosphere that you bred it, that you felt, was a residue of the team feeling as though as a whole they are coming into completion.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, like even all the red shirts and guys weren't competing. Like everyone was still just like all in, invested, and that was.
Hyped up. Yep.
I've never been so hyped just watching. It was crazy. It was fun just watching the team go after it.
Now that y'all got Molinaro and Perry and all that, you guys are about to, man, that ranking's about to shoot up. You guys are about to have some reasons why people are watching you.
Sure, it'll be fun. I'm excited to get after it.
I know
it's a bummer. It's a bummer
you're coming into the right
season.
You're a man of the Bible.
Yeah.
We're talking about seasons and things like that. You, sir, are in a blessed season.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's goofy. Anytime I get like that anxiety, it's like I keep on hearing. It's funny because I keep on hearing the same message, so I know it means I gotta definitely pay attention to it. Like Jesus, taking that time to rest during the storm. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like that's legit. Rest is a beautiful thing.
Don't forget, be anxious for nothing, my man. Be anxious for nothing. You know, I understand that anxiety that comes, and breathe it away. Know that there is one in control. There is one in control, and he is not dead. As a matter of fact, the birthday of Christ was yesterday, and he is yet alive.
Yeah, that's some truth. Fun stuff. All right, let me see what we got. What else I can dive into? So, how do you scale 1 to 10? How do you rank your experiences with both the Penn State program and the ASU program? And what are some of the differences we got? What are the pros and cons?
It's hard for me because I did 4 years versus the 1.
Yeah.
But the 1 year was equivalent to 3.5 at Penn State because of the results and like you said, the upset. We took I think we took 6 guys to nationals. Yeah. And we placed top 5 in the country that year. You know, we were outside of the top 10 all year, and then for us to peak, I mean, that was talking about peaking. We peaked at the right time. Coach Charles, Stith, Askren, they got us ready to go at the absolute right time. It was perfect for us to walk into March, coming off of the Pac-10 or the Pac-12 at the time tournament. We hit a launching board into the national tournament. That was one thing that I would say is different, that I guess the Big Tens and stuff like that, it's a grueling season. So, you know, it's so much harder to hit the Big Ten tournament and go into nationals with the momentum when the entire year is very, very difficult. You know, you're wrestling some of the best wrestlers all the time. And
every single week.
And that's when at the year that I was doing this, I had Schlater, Torella, Metcalf, Burrows, Caldwell. You know, I had 18 All-Americans in the top. You know, I had 18 All-Americans. No, not 18 All-Americans. I had 15 finalists in my weight class.
It's ridiculous.
15 NCAA finalists that year. Toughest weight class of all time. Not only that, every week it was I had the top 10 guys were all in my division, except for the number, I want to say Burrows at the time was like 4 or 3, and he was at Nebraska, so they weren't in the Big Ten. But number 1, number 2, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, and number 10 were all wrestling in the Big Ten. So every week I had a top 10 ranked opponent. So getting that momentum to go into the Big Ten tournament, then going into nationals, I just say that the schedule that Arizona State is on is much better for when you have the right coaches. Now, you can have the wrong coaches, have an easy schedule, and get to nationals and get smacked. But when you have the right coaches, they put you through what the schedule that Penn State will put you through without having to, you know, tear up your body and get banged up so much. So truly the difference is the weather. You know, who likes to drill at -20 outside, you know, when the mats are all cold and hard, and you know, you're walking in from the snow, and then you got to get warmed up to get warmed up. You know, it's a hard thing to do when you're, you know, at a different organization, a different school. But you know, like I said, Penn State grew me, so it's a harder thing. I learned my lumps at being at Penn State. Learned how to, you know, go to classes and deal with the homework, deal with the, you know, the hours that we had to get weekly for our education and things like that. You know, those were a little bit different, but for the most part, man, the 4 years that I had at Penn State rival the 1 year I had at ASU, just because of everything that combined it with it. But it is definitely difficult for me to try to split the two.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I just became friends with all those Penn State guys, so I'm honest. I don't want to jump on the bad bandwagons again anymore.
No, I hear you. What was what's it like going through the national tournament? Like specifically your senior year, you wrestled, was it Welsh you wrestled in the semis there?
Yep.
That year?
Jason Welsh in the semis, Taylor in the finals. The year I lost to Metcalf in the finals, I beat Caldwell in the semis, and then lost to Metcalf after having a 4-1 lead. I lost to Metcalf. That's something I don't put down lightly.
Yeah.
Like if we're going over resume and whatnot, the year I was 26-1 leading the Big Ten tournament. I lost to Metcalf in the Big Ten finals, and I was hungry. Like, oh, I'm gonna get him. I mean, 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks. I'm gonna get Metcalf. Go crazy.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting hurt in the first round of nationals. Injury to fall out after 2 matches. I only wrestled the second match because it was nationals, but I was really hurt.
Yeah.
And being 26-1 going into nationals, and then 0-2 at nationals, it left like as the number 2 seed, no less.
Yeah.
The number 2 seed, I went 0-2. So if we calculate it, I should have been a 3-time finalist. Freshman year, I wrestled up at 57. I wasn't a 57-pounder. I was a 49-pounder, but me and Valamont the coach wanted us to split weights, right? So I could deal with the bigger guys a little bit better because of my speed and my natural strength. So
my gotta do what's right for the team.
Got to do what's right for the team. I took one for the team, you know. Yeah. So that's why I eventually took my career into my own hand after I done did everything for the team, and the team acted like they don't remember nothing. So I had to, you know what I'm saying, I had to do my thing, which made me a Sun Devil. But you know, I'm grateful for the path that God gave me, because not every time after you kill Goliath do you become the king. Sometimes you got to go around that mountain, you know. And I went around the mountain. I didn't get the quick route to the finals. I didn't get, you know, I had to go Pac-12. I had to go wrestle these guys. I had to go that way and this way. So, man, it was a full circle. But the national tournament is the pinnacle of our sport, you know. Even junior worlds and all that, none of that felt like the NCAA tournament, you know. It's a 3-day tournament where it's some of the baddest, you know, any age group. Those guys that are at that level, I mean, the Olympic guys can come off, change the sport, and still get beat by some of those college kids. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
The level that we're on is ridiculous. So, yeah, man, the national tournament is the pinnacle. It's the pinnacle. Sorry, I'm getting a phone right now.
Oh, you're good. You're good. No worries. So, going into the finals that year, right? Wrestling David Taylor. What was that like mentally?
Man, it was you're a spiritual man. So it was knowing that where I was. It was knowing. That's what I can say. It was an assurity. I wasn't guessing that I could beat him. You get what I'm saying? I had held him in my hand. Hold on. Sorry.
You're good.
Wife's asking me for Gatorade or soda. Gatorade or Bolthouse green juice. I'm going with the Gatorade. Where'd you go? How do I find you again? There you are. Okay. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah. What was it like mentally going into that?
Yeah. an assurity. I knew that I was going to win nationals. I knew that I had 7 minutes of my entire career. It's like, you know how when they say, you know, last 30 seconds, let's go, and then you give your all for the last 30 seconds. It was, you know, someone saying last 7 minutes of all of your college career, of all of your wrestling.
You find a little extra going into that, huh?
Yeah, you know, this is your last opportunity. You know, you've been here in the finals. You've been seeded number 2. You've beaten, at that point, I had already beaten 9 national champions. So for me to have already had a resume and a dossier that had that many names on it without having yet my own, you know, I was in a place of like, I got to get it done. But it wasn't an anxious place. It was a place of knowing. I was sure. My God is with me. He stands close to me, and I knew He would deliver me I knew that He would give me the victory in this way, just because of the story. You know, every good thing has a story. How many times do you leave a university and be replaced by someone, and then have to get the opportunity to show that replacement was you know, far-fetched or
it's a crazy story.
Man, I mean, there was so much behind it that it made it real to me. You know, it was more than any other match, not because it was the NCAA finals and because it was my finals match, but because it was in Philly, a crowd that they used to root for me. Boy, they know a Bubba J chant if you ever heard one. They had a really good one. But those Bubba J chants turned into boos real quick. You know, them boo birds came out right after I stuck them and started celebrating. They act like they didn't remember that you know, that I put in all this work to win a national championship. So, I mean, it was very, very, it was very heavy. It was very heavy. And that's
what about that celebration? I remember being a little kid watching that celebration. That was the coolest thing I ever seen. It's still my favorite celebration I ever seen.
Man, shot them ankle bands down. People still, to this day, I mean, 10, 12 years later, people still send me videos of them shooting down ankle bands and all that. So, you know, I know that it was memorable because still to this day, people still hit that celebration like it's no joke.
That was the best. That was funny.
Man,
yeah, it was funny.
I was just happy to be a part of what was historical. I know Penn State won the team that year, but that was my team. You know, those kids on that team that won, I recruited every one of those kids, maybe except David Taylor. But Ed Roofs, the Wrights, the Altons, the Turns, all those guys I hosted on their recruiting visit. Everyone that put up points, I hosted them on their recruiting visit. So it was bittersweet to see my team, in which I was the captain of, win nationals under a different tutelage.
Yeah, I imagine it's got to be a little bittersweet.
But I walked away with my trophy and my plaque and my suit. So I was, you know, I was seeing them walk away with the team title.
Yeah, that's funny. I think they want me to get into more about what's going on with your MMA career. Like, what you got next?
Well, I currently just signed the PFL with PFL. It's the Professional Fight League. We fight on ESPN2. The winner of the organization wins $1 million. So I'm in a $1 million tournament. Lance Palmer is a 2-time champion. He's won the $1 million tournament twice. And I've wrestled Palmer 7 times. And he don't have as many wins on me as a tournament he's won. He is 1-6, and I am 6-1. Therefore, when I used to wrestle him for free, just so I can get back on the bus to get back to Penn State, now that they're going to put $1 million on his head, I just felt like it was, you know, the right time for me to join this organization. So he is my toughest competition. He's someone I know who knows me, and we're just going to see what it is. There's a regular season. I don't know how it's going to go now because of the virus, but usually there's a regular season. You get a couple fights, then they bracket you on your results from the regular season. Then we start the playoffs, which is basically a wrestler-style tournament. We start the playoffs, and at the end of the playoffs, Madison Square Garden, New Year's Eve, is when the championship is held. So that's the $1 million fight. But you gotta do well in the preseason, and then you gotta obviously win all the playoff fights.
Yeah. I got to ask. I feel like I might get my butt kicked once we get back to school for this one. But if you Google Bubba Jenkins, one of the first YouTube things that comes up is you're wrestling Coach Molinaro.
Yeah. Yeah. So me and Molinaro recently, after he got the job, me and him, I called him and we had a really good talk. But before, man, I had really buried the hatchet with most of the Penn State guys, except for a few of them. A few of them led to my exit at Penn State. And that, at least that's the way I felt. I don't know if they 100% did it, but at least that's the way I felt. So I had a real big ought with Frank Molinaro. It was on site with me and him. I almost fought him. I think I got kicked out of a bar one time in at the national tournament a couple years after it was all said and done, because I saw Molinaro, and with me, man, I wear my heart on the sleeve, so I'm real.
Oh, yeah.
If I tell you I don't like you on the phone, if I see you in person, I'm gonna show you I don't like it. I am a talker, but everything I talk about, I walk it. So when I let him know that I was gonna slap him in person, I was serious about it, and I never got close enough to put my hands on him because they saw me beeline towards him. I recently apologized for the way I acted towards him, the immaturity that I had, and the way I was when I was much younger and restless, I would say. But now that I got kids, and now that I'm more understanding of the business side of NCAA, I understand. But truly, Molinaro was a replacement for Dake, because I was supposed to wrestle Dake Madison Square Garden, and he got hurt leading up to the match. So they told me that they were going to put Frank Molinaro in, and I told them, listen, if this match gets ugly, I will start fighting him in the middle of Madison. I'm going to tear your whole wrestling thing up. And don't get mad when a fighter start acting like a fighter, because I have stopped wrestling and I am now a fighter. I will head kick him. I will do everything. We start getting ugly. He start wanting to fight and not wrestle, then I will start fighting. And so I was really at a place of animosity with that match. I wanted to not only beat Molinaro, but I wanted to hurt him. I wanted to embarrass him. I wanted ill will the whole way through. We almost didn't make it to the match because we almost got in a fight at the weigh-ins. And to his credit, he was no coward. There was no back down in him either. He's a national champ, representative of our Olympian team. He's no joke. So it wasn't like I was just going to bully him. It was going to be a fight. But I was, with the animosity that I had, I was willing to see what was up. But I'm so happy now to know that how hard. And I had him on his recruitment visit. Speaking about recruitment visits, I hosted Molinaro on his recruitment visit, and we talked about that after he got the Arizona State job, which I'm so happy about. I am the history under all that dust, because Perry was an assistant coach at Penn State when I was there as well. When I was the captain of the Penn State team, Perry was there. His brother is the only recruit that I lost. The only one. I signed every recruit. Not one guy did I slip out of. And on his visit, I lost the Perry boy. And to me, I lost him because I was like, listen, if your brother's on the staff and we're not going to pick you up, I don't know what I'm doing or why I'm even trying. So, but that was the only recruit that I lost. And to see Perry and Molinaro now be at the Arizona State program is a full circle. It ties back to me. I'm excited about it. I'm happy about it. And, all good vibes to the Molinaro family, his three boys, and everything that goes along with that. But yes, that Molinaro match, Madison Square Garden, I wanted more. I wanted all the smoke.
How about let's hear about the Super Duck. You think you call yourself the inventor of that? You the
No,
first?
I'm not the inventor. I just hit it the best. You know what I'm saying? Like Tom Brady is the GOAT, but he didn't invent throwing the ball or throwing touchdown passes. He's just the best to do it. You know what I'm saying? Wrestling been around for so long. They was hitting super ducks back in the Greek days. You know what I'm saying? It just hadn't been seen like me. Ain't nobody seen it done like me. Therefore, people credit me the inventor, because when they see me do it, they're like, that's perfection. There's no one else doing it like that.
Oh yeah, I
But
remember seeing. I
I will,
remember it going viral. I remember it going viral when I was
I
little.
will give credit.
Everyone
I'll
was
give
trying it.
credit to the game of wrestling. I'll give credit to the sport of wrestling and let them know that, man, I'm not gonna be the cocky Bubba J and say, yo, I invented the super duck. But I will say, I put my signature on it, and they ain't doing it like me. They wasn't doing it like me. You don't see back-to-back super ducks like you see mine. I was hitting super ducks on national champs out of nowhere at any time, any place, from across the mat, in the tie-up. It didn't matter. The super duck was coming. And now that I'm one of the best fighters in the world, my opponents are hitting the best super ducks because ain't nobody trying to fight me. Everybody's out the way. So the super duck my super duck's so good, I'm even being hit with it now. So that's the game we play, man. I'm not the inventor, but I am the one that made it look perfect.
Was that something you worked on in practice first, or you was busted out when the time was right in competition?
Man, I don't want to say I see it, I can do it, but I can see it, I can do it. The move that I pinned David Taylor with in the NCAA finals was a move that I wasn't in practice for. I happened to be out of practice, and I wasn't allowed in the wrestling room at this time. This was a Penn State day. I wasn't allowed in the wrestling room, and I went down to the wrestling room, and I was just watching the workout that was going on, and Kale hit the suicide cradle, and I had seen him do it. And when I got in that position, for some strange reason, in the national finals, while locking up a regular cradle, my mind flashed back to what I saw Kale do that day in the wrestling room, and I hit his ass with a suicide cradle and pinned his boy with it. So I'm one of those guys that if I see it, I can do it. Don't let me see it, because I'll imitate it. Don't hit me with it, because I'm going to pick it up. So
Yeah, I hear you.
if I'm susceptible to be hit with it, oh, your ass is susceptible to being hit with it. So I'll steal it if I see it.
It was funny. I remember being a little kid. Not too long after that, we had Sean Charles came to a high school in my area just for like a little mini camp or whatever. I remember he was showing like the exact same cradle. I was like, man, that's Bubba Jenkins' cradle. I remember watching that. I watched that not too long ago.
There's so many, to be honest with you though, and this is me saying I'm history under the rug, on top of the dust. To be honest, man, you didn't see many suicide cradles before 2011.
Yeah, it didn't happen a whole lot.
I'm going to put that out there. Before 2011, there weren't a ton of suicide cradles. Now, you're seeing Burroughs hit Taylor with it. You're seeing Taylor hit Burroughs with it. You're seeing Dake hit it. You're seeing, oh, okay. Oh, so now everybody want to do the suicide. Nobody's doing regular cradles now anymore. Everybody locking up the cradle and going to their back. Where'd that come from?
Shoot. Yeah, I remember Taylor put, was it the Olympic trials finals?
Yeah.
When Taylor hit Burroughs with it like 2 or 3 times in the same match.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
Everybody was tweeting, texting, hitting me, DMing me. Everybody was hitting me up. Yo, you see that? You see that? Of course I saw it. I'm the grandfather. I'm the father of this thing. What you talking about?
Not the inventor, just the master, huh?
Yes, not the inventor, just the implementer.
Let me see here. Let me keep looking. What's you got any? What's your funniest memory you got at ASU?
Oh,
You gotta pick a few. Give me a few.
Man, I gotta think. You put me on the spot with this one. Oh, okay. This is probably going. Yeah, this was it. This is one of my most memorable and probably the funniest. So, I'm wrestling at the NCAA tournament in my ASU singlet. Well, first of all, I want to say that there was an earlier match that I was down 4-0.
All right.
I was down. I think I tried to mix a guy. I tried to submit roll somebody or do something, and it caught me on my back, and I was down 4-0. But the takedowns were coming I was getting in on takedowns, and it was just a couple things that I was doing wrong during the match that made the takedown just sticky. It was taking too long of a time for me to be down by this many points. So I had to start racking up points really quickly. And I looked over to the corner. I think I was down by a point. and it was probably about 30 seconds left. And it's, this is after the match, after I took him down, cut him, gave up, him getting away in the second period or whatever. And I just look over to the corner, and Stiff is going crazy, screaming, Bubba, you gotta score. And the whole match, I know the panic is setting in on him, but the whole match, I was calm. I didn't feel as though I was ever out of it. I didn't put the, I'm down 4-0 panic on. You would have looked at me wrestle in the match, and you would have thought I was up by 4 or 5 points. The type of pace and demeanor that I had, I just was like, nah, it's coming. Don't worry, coach. And I looked over at Stiff, and he was jumping up, screaming, and he had this look on his face like, you got to get it done. You got to get it done. And the guy ended up with about 25 seconds left. He tried to take a shot to stall. And in the middle of his shot, I mixed him and pinned him, where I wanted. But I knew, I just had this feeling like it's coming. Don't worry. Even if I'm down by 1 with 30 seconds left, I'm going to get this takedown. So don't you worry your little heart. It's going to be one good setup. It's going to be that every day you're label yourselves A and B. One guy's got to get a takedown. One guy's up. But I had the perfect setup. I was a takedown artist, so I knew what I was going to do. But the panic that set in on Stiff was one that, like, I hadn't seen from him. He was so emotional and such a time, like, this is your last opportunity. You got to get it. So we won that match, and that led up to, me beating another guy, and then beating another guy, and then and then beating Welsh. And, I was leading up to the national finals, and this is it. This is the tournament. And this is against my old school in my old region, I would say. Philly is right down the street from State College. There were way more blue and white than I had ever seen in that crowd for any of my events, is what I can say. So, and the crazy thing is, after I was winning matches, there would be people, after I would get my gear and I would be walking to the back, there would be people that were, harassing. I wouldn't say harassing. What is it when you're doing a stand-up and they're hecklers? There were hecklers. Yeah. So as I was getting my gear, walking back, there was hecklers. Oh, you're not going to make it to the finals, or David Taylor, or this, So throughout the tournament, throughout the week, it's a 3-day tournament. So even outside, walking throughout the hotel room and stuff like that, I was getting hecklers all week. Welcome back to Pennsylvania. Too bad you're going home without a trophy, or just all kinds of crazy stuff. So we get in to the finals. We're at the finals. Hey, Bub, this your last 7 minutes. Me and Stiff are strategizing. Hey, he likes to do that inside reach on the ankle pick. He's long. Stay out of him bending on your neck. And boom, boom, boom. First period goes, second period goes, boom. I stick him, pin him. I'm the champ. And the emotions that were after I pinned Taylor, I literally leaned up to run. I'm about to take off running. I don't know where I'm gonna run to, but the emotion, like I said, I get these flashes of seeing things. Yeah. And I saw, when I was seeing the emotion of Stiff the first time that I was down, seeing his emotion, like, come on, you gotta go. I had that flash of him being in the corner, and obviously he was in the corner for the national finals, but I had that flash to just think about running to him. That's all I thought about. I saw him all emotional when I was losing. So when I finally won it, my first reaction was to like go and give him the heart attack CPR that he was going through at the time, because he was on another planet. So when I ran and I jumped to him, it wasn't planned. It was just everything was chaotic. I can still feel the ground shaking from the noise after the pin. The stage that we were on was shaking, and I remember running and jumping into Stiff's arms, and like, I'm thinking we're gonna do like that. After a running back scores a touchdown, the lineman lifts him up, and the running back, puts his arms up, and he's, over everyone. I'm thinking we're going to do one of those things. And so I run up to Stiff, and he instead of allowing me to like lean up and like have this, moment over the Titanic where my arms are spread out wide and I can look at the crowd, he like doubles me, and like I start leaning over his back, and he starts taking me to the edge of the mat. And I'm like, where are we going? He's like, he's got me in a double, and we're headed towards the edge of the mat. And my thought was, I need to grab someone because I don't know where Stiff's doing. And at that same moment, Sean Charles was like in his celebration. And as I was leaning over Stiff's shoulders, I reached for Sean Charles, not in a sense of celebration, but in a sense of help me. Like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm on Stiff's shoulders, and this is about to be bad. And I grab on to Sean Charles, and then Stiff puts me down, and we basically do this like triangle hug where we're all like in a circle, like hugging in a circle. And then I get to the back, and I'm like, yo, Stiff, you know, whoa, man, that was crazy. I'm a national champ. We did it, man. We did it. Bro, where were you taking me? And Stiff was like, man, with all those people talking trash on you, like, I was trying to throw you into the crowd. And I said, what? He said, I was so excited when you got on my shoulders, like I was going to run. I was going to run and jump and throw you into the crowd. And bro, we had such a laugh about that moment. And it was like, when I start to think about the things that were happening, how I ran into his arms, and then we're like, I'm cheering, and then I feel him like grip me up to throw me. Like, I can feel we're no longer celebrating. He has a plan that he's about to implement. And some way, somehow, I'm going to get from the stage of the wrestling room, I'm going to get from the stage to the crowd. I don't know how he planned it. It's 50 feet. There's no way I would have made it. It would have destroyed my celebration. It would have destroyed everything that just happened. Me being thrown off the stage by my coach would have been so bad. Oh, it would have been bad. So that I can say was one of my funniest, like, it was hilarious to think of his thought process in that moment, man. It was crazy, but that's probably one of my most memorable and one of the most funniest moments where Stiff tried to throw me off of the stage after my celebration. So next time you guys view that film, go back to
I'll have to look again.
Stiff celebrating, and then you'll see Charles come over, and I grabbed Charles while still on Stiff's shoulders, man. It was a moment that, like, I'm glad didn't happen. I'm glad the plans of celebration that Stiff had didn't happen, and I got to do my ankle band shoot down, because y'all would have never seen that celebration. I would have been hurt on the ground somewhere, and, you know, on my way to a hospital from being thrown off the stage. But it was a moment.
It would have been memorable either way, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. It would have been as memorable as that kid who headlocked Brands. The one time he won nationals and then he threw Brands. Yeah, that would have been completely opposite. There would have been so many memes of just seeing me in the yellow singlet being thrown through the air. I mean, just, you know, crazy different
memes. Just get an action shot flying midair through the
Man, it would have been funny as hell. It would have been when your little brother's playing video games, and then you would have had a little meme of me being thrown off the crowd. I mean, it was good. But we were on cloud nine. I can understand now, because we lost our mind. Literally, Brian Stiff lost his mind during the celebration. He tried to throw me into I don't know, throwing me in the crowd, they would have caught me, or if they would have beat me up. I don't know what he was thinking, but that was his plan for my celebration, was to throw me into the crowd.
That's fun.
Yeah,
that was funny. All right, so how long after that? When did you start making the? When did you decide MMA was going to be your path?
Man, I knew MMA was going to be my path when I left to go to Arizona State. Half of the reason was Stiff and the coaching staff. The other half was the fact that, you know, ASU is known for their wrestlers diving over into MMA. ASU, just the West Coast in general, is known for having the ability to mix martial art. You know, the East Coast, where it's cold, and, you know, you don't really see that many MMA gyms.
Yeah, not as much.
Back in that time. Now they're popping up everywhere now. But back in 2011, it was the West Coast leading the world in mixed martial arts. So when I was like, man, so let me think about this. I'm in a place where I have to find another school. I'm going into mixed martial arts after my career is over. So how do okay, all right. And then Stiff and I start talking. And then I start looking at, you know, CB Dalloway, Cain Velasquez, and, you know, Vader, and, you know, all those guys out there. Ortiz, and I'm like, you know what? I might, you know what? ASU. Okay, Lord, I hear you. All right. Okay, Lord, I see you. That's a perfect path. That's amazing. I can go out there. I just got out of this Penn State snow. What other place should I go other than a desert? Okay, I can see that. It ain't got no beach, but I can deal with this, Lord. All right. And then I have basically a what we call in the Black community, my cousin, as Brian Stith. You know, I have my cousin on the coaching staff. So, you know, he understood me. You know, he knew how I was as an athlete, how I was as a competitor, how I wore my heart on my sleeve. So he knew my personality. And, you know, ASU was just recently bringing their program back from after cutting it. And, you know, so all these things were all together in that one little season of mine. So, man, it came together like that. That was where I was.
What was your transition like going from wrestling to MMA?
How did that go? It's difficult. It's no joke. You know, if you do it right, it can be very smooth. But when you want to go to some of the best gyms in the country or some of the best gyms in the world, and they don't tutor you, or they don't, you know, it's just a kill or survive. You got to have the right coaches. You got to have a tutor-like atmosphere, because if you're in a class-like atmosphere, you can get away with doing techniques wrong and, you know, not really getting everything right. And then when you go to sparring, you're really just surviving. You're not really like working on technique. You're not really working with people. These are some of the best fighters in the world, so they would never allow you to get good offense on them coming from the background. Oh, this is Bubba Jenkins, a national champ wrestler. I'm one of the best fighters in the world. I can't let this, you know, happen. So there was a lot of in the gym pride that, you know, if you're not in the right gym, you don't have the right coaches, it can be a hard transition. And I'm a believer. So, you know, I believe the Lord took me and molded me in the fire, so that now that I'm established as one of the top fighters in the world at 145 pounds, I know the route of surviving, fighting, and actually working. I can get some good work with some of the best fighters in the world in a good sparring match. And I can also fight people in practice. Like there are times where we're not sparring. This guy I hit him with a combination and he didn't like it. Now he's, you know, got some pride going on, or he's battling whatever demons he's coming in with. You know how we speak about the sport and how we speak about spirituality. You know, we've wrestled not against flesh and blood. So I could be going against everything that this man is going through in life, everything that this man has on his mind, on his heart, the afflictions that are afflicting him, the demons that are chasing him. I could be going against that in the middle of our sparring. Therefore, if I hit him with something and, you know, the spirit in him might, you know, act up and want to come after, you know, the man of God that I am. Therefore, I've been through the fire of being able to, all right, we ain't got no contract and I ain't getting paid for this, but I'm still about to bust that ass, you know. So there are different things, different themes in the sport of MMA that, you know, will hamper your transition. Sometimes it's the agent. Sometimes the agent will rush you. Oh, you're a big wrestler. You're a national champ. Oh, well, I'm going to make you fight this guy who's got 13 fights. And you're like, man, I didn't do amateurs. Why am I fighting a dude with 15 fights? You know what I mean? Like, oh, bro, don't worry about it. You're an amateur wrestler. You'll be fine. And it's like, you know, if you have guys like that, they'll throw you in before you're too ready, and then you become gun shy. You know, then every time you punch, you get hit. Every time you do something, you get hurt. In wrestling, you do something wrong, you make a mistake, you give up a position. There are times you get hurt. You know, if a guy get a good double leg on you, you're gonna get spiked. You know? Yeah,
you're gonna be feeling it.
But then, for the most part, it's mental. You give up. You know, you give up the mental. Oh man, he beat me here. He did that. He did this. You don't really get hurt giving up a good takedown. A nice slick takedown, you don't get hurt on. But a good slick combination is meant to hurt. A good slick takedown is meant to take you down, not hurt you. A good combination in MMA is meant to hurt you. Therefore, if you make a mistake versus a guy who was meant to hurt you, you're just being hurt the whole time. Therefore, you become gun shy. And, you know, these things are stuff that with my mentality, I overcame. But in the sport of mixed martial arts, if you don't have the mindset that I have, or if you don't have the belief in Christ that I have, then the sport transitioning from mixed martial arts or wrestling to mixed martial arts, it's way more difficult than some people would imagine. It is. But once you get it, the grind is not different than our sport. You know, you'll start to realize there might be a little bit, there might be a sport a little bit harder than wrestling, because you add wrestling, then you put punches on it, then you put submissions on it, then you put the time on it. You mean I got to do this five times, 5 minutes, 5 times? So, you know, when I first started really getting the ins and outs of MMA, I said, man, this is the only sport comparable to wrestling that I would say is harder, because the grind is the same, but also you're adding more things. So you can't tell me wrestling's the hardest sport when I'm also wrestling and being kneed in the face while, you know, making up those shots. So, you know, I'm a wrestler through and through. Don't get me twisted, but there is a harder sport than wrestling, and it's mixed martial arts, because it implements all the things in wrestling, and it still has to grind. Now, the thing about wrestling is you have to work to get a pin, and you can just punch somebody in the face and the fight's over. You know, there ain't no tech falls in MMA other than a TKO where the referee jumps off of you. But, you know, there's a working part to wrestling that mixed martial arts doesn't have. If you're the heaviest hitter, if you're the Chuck Liddell, then mixed martial arts isn't as hard as wrestling, because you go in and touch any chin and they go down. And you don't have to hustle, you don't have to grapple, you're just hitting people. And that, man, mixed martial arts is so easy, because you can knock 'em, sock 'em, Debo in people, and that makes sense. But when you got to work for a tech fall, or you got to, you know, spend a couple minutes to put up that right tilt to get them to that pin, then you start to see, you know, the work. But for the most part, man, the transition is difficult, and the sport is no joke. But I know that the wrestlers do the best in transitioning. Boxers cannot transition that great into mixed martial arts, because there's a whole avenue below the waist that they don't even comprehend. If you get in that water and you don't know how to swim, you're going to drown in a puddle.
That's true. You think your style of wrestling, you think that helped blend into your MMA style pretty well too?
Absolutely, because I'm an athlete. If I was, you know, I think it'd be a little bit more difficult if I was, let's say, what kind of style? If I had a Quentin Wright type of style, let me go with someone in your generation. If I had a Jason North type of style of fighting,
just purely technical and everything,
it would be a little bit difficult to transition, because North is built off of the technique that is that will sometimes have holes in the mixed martial arts. There will be great takedowns that he can get in wrestling that will put him deeper into the fire in mixed martial arts, because of the jiu-jitsu style, because of his aggressiveness on different transitions. If he goes too quickly, he will find himself quickly in a spider's web of moves. Therefore, his style he will do great once he learns jiu-jitsu and do things like that. Once he learns the technicalities of it, and it will be great. But you know, a person like that, the transition is slower. So my style, the athlete, you know, the explosive type of style is likely the better. But I can't say that full-heartedly, because Cormier don't have a explosive bone in his body, and he's still a great fighter. So
he's doing pretty well for himself.
So we're gonna go with, there's outliers to everything, but I would say the athlete, the explosive athlete, the average 155, 157, 165, 74 pounder, those guys are usually some of the better fighters. That's why, you know, the 155 pounds, the 170 pounds in the UFC and all the fighters around the world, those are some of the tougher, most explosive, most exciting fighters.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I think we covered pretty much everything they wanted me to make sure I covered, and then some. Is there anything else you wanted the people to know?
Man, just to, you know, I'm a believer. You're a believer. You know, with everything going on in the world, with all this virus and corona and this, man, we cannot heighten the spirit of fear. You know. There's a lot going on. There are some people that look at the other people, laugh. Oh, you don't have a mask on. You don't have this. How could you do that? And churches are shutting down, and churches are opening up, and we're standing on the blood of Jesus, and we're standing on. With all that going on, we cannot buy into the spirit of fear. It is an emotion that needs a body. It is a floating emotion. It is a floating dust. It's a floating movement, and it needs a body, whether animal, whether human, it needs a body. And in this day and age, so much of the fear is bringing on detriments. So much of the fear make us panic into doing things that we don't need to do. So much of the fear are putting us in tight, stressful places that if we would just trust more in the Lord, trust more in him who brought us here, trust more in the understanding that he's got it all in control. He's not dead. He's yet alive. And we will. If this is one thing that I would leave, if you heard nothing else, we will meet the King when it's all said and done. I pray to my beloved people that we have a relationship now before we have to meet him and introduce ourselves then. Mm-hmm. Because that introduction isn't going to go as heavenly and as beautifully as the Jesus of love that we know about.
Yeah.
So it's one thing I would say, garner a relationship with the one and true King, and less fear. We gotta take away the fear, because that drives us to do so many things that are out of context or out of character for ourselves. You know, fear puts so much on our plate that we don't even know who we are after it. And that goes for you when you're about to wrestle. That goes for you when you're about to get into this or that, unsure things, unsure grounds, unsure territory, going overseas and going. We can't be bought by fear, because it changes the plan that God has for us. It zaps your power. It zaps everything about your power.
I appreciate it, brother.
My man, anytime you need to talk on screen, off screen, I'm here for you. Anytime you doing some Bible studies or doing some stuff, hit me up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited for what you're going to be at ASU. It's going to be a good time. And
I appreciate it, dude.
Good luck with everything. You keep the Lord in your eyesight, and there ain't many that can handle you. How do you feel about Gable Stevenson?
He's good. He's real accomplished. He's done a lot of good things. I wrestled him like my freshman year of high school, like summer right before my freshman year. I wrestled him. Just on a whim, I decided to sign up for freestyle after doing Greco. He's good. He beat me then, but I know my style. It only takes a couple things for me to be able to do big things.
Right.
Right. I can put some.
My only implementation, and I've only seen you wrestle maybe a handful of times. Think about being a 133 pounder, right?
Yeah.
Every now and then, get that lightness in your feet. Get some of those. Get one or two of those. I would say elephant, rhino, hippo killers. Basically, that one or two moves that get them going one way, lean all that body weight one way, and getting a cutback. Some kind of misdirection would kill. Would kill. If you can implement going to both sides of the body with how athletic and how strong and how smart you are, the favor of God will have an immense amount of resulting in your work. So
thanks, man. Yeah, you got my number or anything? We should stay in touch.
Yeah, send me your number. This is my number, so whatever y'all, we text in a group chat. So send me one on in the group chat that you just texted me.
Yeah, sounds good. All right.
All right, dog. Well, good luck.